Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 32 of the Build Guide 2. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for all the support on the stream. Nice to see another Orchid base stream back, and I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I did nice little suburbia stuff, some downtown road network things as well. Alongside a little amusement park that kind of have a run-down, sort of falling apart vibe to it. We did some great detailing with some fencing here and some tiles. So thanks for all supporting it. Please go hang out and watch the stream VOD if you haven't already. There's always a lot of nice ideas. But today's episode, it's time for a pretty significant milestone for the city. We're going to come into our options because it's time to open 25 tiles, of course, which this build is named after. So this is using the 821 tile mod. If you don't know, it's linked down below in the mod list for this series if you want to come and use it. But it's going to open up some pretty important chunks of the map for us. Today we're going to be working here. We're going to redesign all this rail system. I want a highway interchange to help feed an eventual industrial area over here. And even further afield, we can now finally hook Karen into the highway. This connection has been dying to be made for a lot of the series. The couplet system can now extend a pretty significant way down the shoreline here. And there's all of these riverways that have opened up. So let me know what you think should now lie within the build radius that we have, right? The city's really opened up for us now with 25 tiles. Thinking some more rural towns out this way as we head further and further away from what is the city centre. But let me know, and if we are still enjoying it and if Cities 2 gets delayed, we may look at 81 tiles, but we're a long way from doing that yet. And we can finally do the international airport, which I know a lot of you are waiting for, so maybe we'll get to the airport soon. I guess indeed we will see. However, today's episode, industrial network time. We have NVIDIA's Industrial Revolution stuff out this week. And I feel like I want to do a big industrial area here, maybe a factory, probably an industries DLC area too, and a lot of rail interchange stuff to hopefully please the train police for once. We'll find out, won't we? But either way, let's do some industrial network planning in City Skylines, shall we? So we're going to leave the game paused for a good chunk of today because we're killing some pretty important connections here. And just as a side note, there's 3 dead bodies in these warehouses, but death collection people refuse to actually come and pick them up. So we're going to have to make it law that perhaps the Orchid Bay Mafia is operating out of this industrial estate and are storing the corpses here because I can't get rid of them. They're just there forever. Cool, so first of all, rail is the priority today. So we're going to actually just tear all of this out. Probably up until about here. So we're going to do some pretty important layering today, which I think can be quite an important aspect of an industrial build. Purely because I think a lot of the time it's important that the networks reflect the vibe of a build just as much as the assets to help bring it together. So with this being a major industrial area, I want to make sure that the rail network is properly designed to reflect that, okay? So we're going to be doing some layering. So first of all, I want to start with the ground level stuff. So I'm going to come ahead and grab my one-way train track here, ideally on an angle, so we could have that there. Can we delete this coal power plant? Pretty sure we can. Shouldn't really need it here. So currently we have these one-way tracks that go this way and trains can exit the map out this side if they want to, but they can't currently get back out this way. So that's a connection that we need to factor in. So I'm going to bring this one down, and then again, always find that just running the network parallel to where you eventually plan to have it go can just help us a little bit. So we'll have that there. Let's come on to that curve tool. We're going to hit that road guideline if we can, and then hopefully have a nice smooth curve. We'll try my hardest to please the train police today. I really don't want to upset them. So hopefully these curves are somewhat sensible. And then we're going to have this hook back into the system where they can exit out that way if they want to. Wonderful. So over this side, I'd like to have, again, some parallel networks run alongside this road here. Again, orientation of the network is just as important as well, I think, as sort of the planning and actual design of the network itself. So this will now come in here, and this for right now can just sort of curve off this general direction to meet up with this rail eventually as it bends off back that way. So you can go probably there for right now. And that gives me my ground level connections for the rail. We're going to be pretty happy with that for the most part, I think. Now let's go into our terraforming, right? So embankment and layers, you know, we talked about sort of the importance of layers. We'll have a little brief recap here. You know, when you're playing with all these terrain layers, and then you look at the finished product here, you've got little bumps. You can see networks going up hills and bridges and stuff. So I hope you all agree it really contributes to that final product, doesn't it, when we start playing with layering. So that's something we want to do in this build as well, of course, for bringing in those more industrial vibes. So I think an embanked rail line is going to do a pretty good job for us. And it looks like we've got a decent height here, haven't we? Let's just go ahead and level all of this off. I'm also going to bring that road down as well. And now let's just bring this right the way through this whole section where we want that rail line to run. And you can see now why we did those ground level networks first, so they're all factored into the layering. I imagine we'll probably end up deleting this generic industry now it's not sat against a rail line, because that's really why it was placed there. And same thing again over here now, we'll bring this layer through this way, and then up to there should be decent enough. And then we'll delete a little bit of this line here and redraw it in with a slope tool, so we'll grab that as the height. And then from this point, we'll start sloping up toward that. So we get something like that. Hopefully not too horrific a gradient for this to embank up to. It should be pretty sensible, I think. Cool, but that's not finished yet. So that'll give me the one layer I need to embank the rail, but there's also other networks that need to come through here. And I'm thinking we're going to actually extend this industrial road through into the industrial area as well. It looks like maybe we want to be a touch shallower than that. Let's maybe go for a couple more contour lines down, maybe. Something like that should be more appropriate. Let's clear out those trees too. Fantastic. So we'll clear that way for the industrial road to come through. And again, I want to make sure I'm aligned here with the networks that are sort of the key aspect of the area. In this case, that happens to be the rail line. So I'm going to snap onto the guideline there. And this can now come down and start to form an industrial waterfront for us over here. And then this can come back up and hopefully just meander back into its original connection. Wonderful. I think what we will do is we have this road over here for right now, which will extend into this area to form some sort of road hierarchy away from the airport. But for right now, we're just going to bring it out so we can line up a new road that's going to come down this way to hook into this area. Because there's no real road hierarchy that can extend past this way. So we'll just have to wait and see. Cool, but that's not too bad, I don't think. No, I'm pretty happy with this. Let's come back into our terrain tools now. And I'd like to grab the height that this rail line is going to sit on. And then we're going to embank this up now from this area up here. So we can create that connection back into the national line. And again, same with terraforming. More than you need at the start is always good, and then we can refine the shapes and chisel it out later on. Cool, but that should be good enough for right now. Got a lot more breathing room for the trains. Let's go ahead and get them hooked in again. So you should just come straight across here. I will have our bridge pillar there. I don't think I particularly hate that. And then we want to bring it back down to Earth, probably on 860. And then we can keep this going now. So now come to another crossing. Let's go ahead and just soften all of that terrain work back out. I can actually maybe even do with a little bit of level just to push it back a bit more. There we go. And then just make sure we're allowing that landmass to flow for the elevated network to take place. So that's going to be our point of crossing. We need to be 3 elevation points up. But it's a little bit steep for me there, so what I will do is actually just kit back a little bit of this and then draw it back in so the game sort of smooths it out for me. And then we can do the same thing back over here. We can actually even mimic that curve if we want. So that would be a distance of 980 just so we get that symmetry. And then we can have this come back down to 980. And then this can carry on along its embankment. And we should be crossing here nice and easy. Let's go ahead and get these hooked into. Start bringing this one up the hill first. And bring it up to about there. And we want to do that same terrain process now. A little bit of soften, probably level terrain actually. Just to help give a little bit of breathing room for that bridge to come over. So that we can cross over pretty simply there. And then a road guideline and a curve should see everyone home. I think I'm going to be pretty happy with that. So that re-establishes the main line connection. And now we have a couple of bits of work to do with this one-way network that can hook back in, which provides an exit for this cargo station here. The cargo trains don't need to travel this direction because there isn't an external connection down there, so they should be okay. And that should be alright for here. Pretty happy with that. So let's come on to our topography tool now, because I'd like to have the contour lines on for drawing out this rail connection. So let's go for a little slip here, and then we're going to get a nice big measurement, and hopefully a big super curve going down here. So have that one there, and then this can come back down and into the national line to hook in with the rest of its train friends. Fabulous. And now we can see where we want our one-way network to come in. So at this point we want to do a little bit more level terrain. And we'll just start to chisel out a bit of a layer now for that train line to sit on. And then our one-way friend can come across here. And hopefully just find a nice sensible place to hook back in with the rest of that rail network. Let's go for that one there, hopefully. And then of course just amend directions of flow as needed. Wonderful, so that's now coming in again. We're also going to get a nice bit of network positioning here with trains coming over each other and also coming by this little sort of industrial part of town here. I kind of talk about, like designing the network as much as the build itself is important for the build to come together, I think. I feel like I'm going to be saying that a lot today. It's very much the theme of the episode, isn't it? And then the same thing here, now we want to slope out this terrain so we can bring that one-way network down so that anyone wanting to arrive by the cargo station or into the cargo station via this way does indeed have that route as an option. And let's just remove that road for right now. We'll bring in a connection that's not hopefully terrible. And then we will need to bring that industrial road back in so it hooks in with there. Cool. So now that gives us a much wider, much more breathable train interchange, hopefully. With a couple of different things going on, and hopefully now we can just enjoy the flow of that as we await for some trains to arrive. There you go, so cargo's trains coming down here into the station. Trains going over the overpass. And they're coming along here. I also kind of like how the bridge starts a little bit sooner than the actual sort of cut in the land, if you like. It's a nice aesthetic. And there they go, merging back in. Trains are going that way. Everyone seems to be pretty happy. We were actually having some train issues with this map. I also saw some comments as well in earlier episodes. If you're getting train traffic backing up at the edge of your map, we actually fixed this in an episode of 5B1C. So what can happen is if the last segment of rail that leaves your map is shorter than the length of a train, it can cause them all to start backing up a little bit. The only way to fix that is with Move It, because you need to move the nodes further away from the edge of the map so that final segment is more than the length of one train, like you can see it is now. So there's more breathing room here. That's the only way to fix that. It's a little bit of a shame, but yeah, it can be helpful to use Move It just to bring those nodes that make that final segment a little bit longer. Hope that makes sense. Again, we've shown it in episode of 5B. For those that haven't seen it, I'll leave it linked down below if you want to go ahead and check it out. Cool. So now, really, we just want to sort of chisel out the land masses. A little bit of soften work will go a long way here, just to make it seem a little bit more natural. And where we do have the embankment, I really want to make sure that we accentuate that dirt layer up against the train line. Cool. So that's good news for me. And then we also want to do the same thing here again now. Go into our larger brush size. And then just trim everything up, and we should be okay. And a little bit of soften needed, just to make it seem a bit more natural. Something like that, hopefully. Hopefully we haven't upset the train police today. I think we should be okay. Much more breathable train interchange. So now let's turn our attention towards the roads. I'd like to do a little trumpet interchange here as well to feed some highway connectivity into this area and beyond, hopefully. Let's turn our attention towards a highway interchange here. So I think the easiest solution for us is going to be a trumpet interchange. So let's just find a segment of highway. The straighter the better, really. It kind of just makes it easier to align with guidelines and whatnot. And we'll downgrade a few segments of this into 2-lane road, so it makes it easier to place our pillars. So once you've got a good section of it downgraded into 2-lane, I also want to bring in some slip roads here, so we know that we have enough room for our trumpet to occupy the space. That should be decent enough for right now. And then we'll grab the 2-lane highway. There is a very slow dedicated trumpet tutorial on the channel if you're interested in it. So once we got our slip road in, let's go ahead and start lining up where we want the main roads to flow. And I'm thinking they're going to go pretty much this direction here, I think. Yes. There, and that's going to take me roughly to about here, which should be okay for what I want it to do. Wonderful, so we'll leave that there for right now. And then we can bring this one a little bit further back. I'll just go for there. And then of course we want to mirror this road as well, which might be a little finicky with some of the room we have to play with. In which case I think just an angle snap will help to find those little sweet spots between the slip brains where our main roads can lie. And then we'll bring this one back up with that one there as well. Fabulous, and that can go up to there. That gives us the cross highways coming over. You could also do this now, I guess, with the 4-lane 2-way highway and replace both segments here with this one. The only problem in vanilla is that when you come to the bottom of the trumpet, you won't be able to remove the left turn. It's not a major issue because they probably wouldn't take it anyway, but you can also do it with that road as well if you like. I'll just downgrade a bit more highway into 2-lane as well, so we know where we're coming in. Fabulous. As a future development project, it might actually be worth extending this trumpet out to hook in with this road here, but we'll worry about that when we get to develop this side of things. Thinking maybe a cargo airport out here to accompany the regional one. Not entirely sure. We'll wait and see what happens. Cool, right, so we got our bridges coming over now. Let's come back into our curve tool, and we want to grab... let's actually remove this one here a little bit. I want that to be a touch shorter before the node. There we go. So let's come in with our road tools, and I think 6 curve. So we'll find the marker with 5, go 1 further, and then we know, of course, that that is 6. That'll be 5 and 6 again, and then we'll come down an elevation step, and then we'll do 5, 6, 5, and 6, and down. And then hopefully we're just going to have a little curve road tool now with a freeform, and we can hook into that slip road. So probably just want to actually delete some of these overpass roads and just move the pillars into the middle so I can actually have them come over the slip road is what I want to happen. There we go. So it's just come on to that angle snap again so we can get it into the middle. Just want my pillars in the middle of the highway there. There we go. Which then I can have this as 2-lane, and then we'll feed that back into the highway. Wonderful. And then we can actually make this section here a 4-lane as people enter in. Cool. That might be worth making that 4-lane up to there, because that'll give them the dedicated turning lane, won't it? I'll have to move that bridge pillar, which I'll do later on in the time lapse. But that's one connection sorted. Let's come back to our 2-lane highway now with all of our snappings on. And then we just want to do some measurements here now. We want to go slightly shorter. And down that elevation step again. And then the same thing over here. Let's keep matching up to those road guidelines. And then we'll bring the slip road off for this one here. Let's actually do it with regular highway ramp first of all. We'll upgrade it down to 2-lane later. It can be a little bit easier to work with. So just with the room I've got to play with, not quite as flexible as we would have liked. So we'll bring off that curve a little sooner. And then we'll come back down to earth hopefully in one stretch. Let's find out where that happens. That's going to be perfect. And then we'll hook that into the highway. And upgrade this one and sort out everyone's directions. Really? You're not going to let me change direction just because you're so close to the road? That's so annoying. Let's use that angle snap again. There we go. Drum bits can be a lot easier when you're just working with regular bits of highway, but because we're on sort of curved highway bits here, makes it a little bit more tricky, but we can be fine with our angles here. I'm happy with that. So that gives us the slips back onto the side of the highway. Now the other ones are really quite simple to arrange. Let's go ahead and bring these up to the same point. Let's go for 940 there. That one there. So I'd probably like to embank this again rather than keep it as an elevated bridge. And we might as well just steal the same height as this train line embankment. Then we can just run this against the edge of the river. Have it like that. Just remove some forest that we don't need. Wonderful. Cool. And then we can have our highway roads touch back down to earth here. Actually probably redraw them back onto that embankment. So we'll do a measurement of 1520 as we touch back down to Earth. Then these can just run straight and parallel with one another. So now we need to do a bit more terraforming where we've got that embankment in. Let's go ahead and sort of accentuate that one, and then we'll do a little bit of softening around the edge of it. And then we want to do some sloping now, so we'll come down to medium brush size. I'll grab that height, and we should be okay to bring it out from here, I think. Actually, maybe let's go back. Just a simple upgrade section to give ourselves a bit more breathing room. And then we'll draw that slope up from here. So we'll slope out that terrain. And then we'll grab that slip road again. Come back onto the highway. And then we'll get a nice big happy curve as we come back up to meet with the new highway. Go something like that. Nice and wide, we've got a lot of room here. And then we'll do a 240 connection back into the highway. And then we can mimic that road. From this one, we'll come out by 240. That's going to be pretty much it, isn't it? That's it, probably smoothing that out a little. So this one run down, and then we want to do that same slope technique. So we'll find the height, and then we'll slope it up from this general area. So we have nice ramps coming down. Trumpets are super detailable as well. You can get lots of rocks around them, different tree patterns, fence patterns. Definitely one of the easier interchanges to work with when you without Move It and the usual collection of network mods. Cool, and I guess we can run this parallel for a little bit and find a happy place to hook back in. Let's go for 330. And fabulous, that will give us a configured trumpet interchange. Tie up any old directions of movement, but they're pretty simple to build. They can be slightly awkward again just without having Anarchy and Move It to line things up, but a bit of patience. Definitely one of the easier interchanges to put together. And that's going to do a job for me, right? It's going to give us highway connectivity into this part of the map now. And we will actually be upgrading a bit of this highway next episode once the Industrial Revolution stuff has dropped, because we have a really cool bridge to put in here. But for right now, I think what I will do is actually bring it down into just a regular 6-lane bridge. But again, next episode, this bridge will change. Cool. So we'll just have the 6-lane road there, and then we'll feed our 2 highway roads into it, and we can allow the merge to take place there. And then this 6-lane should hopefully just... I guess I might well do a touch more embankment here, actually, on this side of the river. It's going to allow some more sort of cool landscapes to develop, because we're quite flat out here as well, so it'd be nice to develop some new layers at the foot of the mountains. And then, not sure where you're going yet, we just have that road flowing through. I think we might actually also bring this road through as well, if we can create a level crossing there. We'll have a little look at that in a second. And then this should be fine. Let's get this embankment up. Again, lots of rocks and overgrowth around. At the base of the bridge should make things look a little nicer. And then we'll see what we're like for a connection crossing over here. Can we meet? Let's see, what does that give us? That would be a 25 unit bridge. Although it does slope down a little bit before that. So I think what we will do is actually grab that terrain height instead. And then level it out to this one. I hope it's useful seeing a lot of this network stuff. I sometimes feel they can be quite boring to record, but I know you guys do like network stuff, so hopefully it's not horrifically boring. That should be a little bit better. And then we'll bring this across. Unit of 20 seems pretty reasonable. We're not going to have ferries down here, so we don't need to worry about leaving enough clearance for them. And then again, we will slope probably to here, I imagine. And then we can bring this down into the area. So it's this bridge that's going to change. We're going to do some pretty fun things here next episode. But for right now, it's just going to be... I'm going to do a small roundabout connection here. Maybe a little bit sooner than that. I feel like it might be a nice little traffic feature, I guess. I might just use a fancier 6-lane road here. Maybe the one with the median as we come into the bridge. Cool. And then we can actually upgrade this section over here now with the industrial road. To, well, be industrial road, and then we can meander this around and hopefully hook that back into that area with the appropriate tool. Splendid. Awesome. That'll just give us a bit of road hierarchy and connectivity. And it'll also be interesting just to see how much traffic it takes off of this road here, because this road is getting busier and busier the bigger the city grows. What's slowing you down a little bit? Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't mind this sort of stuff as long as it's not gridlocked, you know. A bit of traffic on a main street makes it look alive to me. But I think the Sims will appreciate that extra highway connectivity. If anything, the Smarts want to become a 6-lane road now, you know. Do we have a 6-lane with bus and cycling? Oh, we do, but it has a tram line as well. I don't need trams here. That's really annoying. I mean, I guess, you know, we're a public transport focused city. I should really prioritise the buses. Oh, I don't know, do I prioritise the bus or the cycle infrastructure? If I prioritise the cyclists, the bus gang are going to be furious. Just see if it actually helps first. If we change this to 6-lane with cycling, it does give that dedicated right turn now. At least for this section of road. Might be worth it. Possibly also upgrading this one here as well. Just give some of those dedicated turning lanes where needed. Should clear it up a little bit. Okay, it's definitely taking a little bit of the pressure off having people move around here. Have a little review of the bus lines as well. It's been a long time since we've looked at these. Yeah, that one's okay. And how about you, Mr. Articulated Bus? Yeah, it's getting decent use. I'm pretty happy with that, to be fair. But breathes a little bit easier now, I guess. Might be worth taking the 6-lane down, but I do appreciate the left turn into the suburb there. Well, I guess we'll keep it. Yes, we do have people already coming on and off the highway interchange here. That's great news. We've missed the first trumpet users though. There we go. Here comes an intercity bus, which is good because it's going to take a lot of intercity pressure off of this little park load that we've got further down the highway as well. Very nice. And we've got some stuff out here too. This kind of looks like a big good place for a factory build out this way maybe. I guess we'll see. Let me know what you want to see in this big gaping green space next to the industrial area here. But otherwise, it's nice to see everything just have a lot more room and look a lot more breathable, isn't it? I think I'm pretty happy with that for right now. This extra lane here on the holy waterfront has really helped us clear it all up, which is nice. Absolutely, and I love this area of the city. So like active and organic. It's really nice. I do like it. Either way, before we do move into a detailed time lapse today, I'd like to start making some more resources, specifically glass and metal, because we don't have an ore area yet. And let's have a little look at Orchid Bay's ore, actually. I guess Orchid Bay is obviously going to be the name of that eventual build. So we've got a pretty significant ore deposit up and around all these mountains. Pretty much all the mountains really, right? Yeah. Some further ones over here. We can get out here now, which is kind of begging to be turned into an industrial port over this way, isn't it? So we'll probably do that now we have 25 tiles open. Oh, there's a good chunk of ore there though, isn't there, on the other side of the airport. It's kind of tight though for an ore build. Or if anything, actually, that's kind of worked out perfectly. If there's a load of ore up in these foothills, then eventually we can turn these hills here up into a quarry, but that's kind of a separate build. But what I do want to do is actually import the ore resource into a ore industrial area that can sit in as part of our train interchange decoration. But of course, it's also going to help us serve some resource demands as well. So I'm going to create a rail crossing, and we'll have this just come straight out here, and then hopefully you will run out this way for a little bit, something like that. Go ahead and place down our ore main building. So we're going to grab this one here. Now these work really nicely up against rail lines. They're just, I don't know, something about them, right? I really do like them. So let's bring our ore industry main building over a little bit. As again, as always, orientation, incredibly important. So let's see if we can position our ore main building to sit with its back up against the rail line. It looks like we can actually afford one more tile there, so we'll do that. We'll have this in here. Fabulous. So don't want to be attracting a huge amount of traffic to this area with the ore, so we will have to be careful with it. So it won't be attracting a huge amount of traffic to this particular area. It's really just to help decorate the interchange. So it's not going to get like this huge, enormous industrial region anyway. Looks like we can bring that across, and can we hook in there? Yeah, so we can actually create that level crossing, which I don't mind. It's going to give extra access for the industry area over here. That's going to be great. So again, I'm really using this ore area not only to start producing the resources, but for decoration of the train interchange itself as well. So I'm actually going to extend this one-way track a bit more down, just so we have more of those parallel networks. Again, you know, it's using the networks to decorate an area as well, and that's really what I'm trying to do here. So the ore industry area obviously comes with these huge kind of ore storage pits that are pretty significant assets, and they're going to look really nice up against our rail. So let's come into them, and we want to grab the sand storage. So we're a few tiles too short there. Let's start that again. Let's go up for 15 tiles this time. And awesome, that's going to let us place in a few of those. So we can imagine the aesthetic now, right? We obviously don't need this connection here. And we know now that we can place a few of these sand storages. Might go for 3, I think. 3 might be a good shout. Something like that. Yeah, I don't think I hate that. We can bring maybe some dirt roads around as well. Not everything has to be concreted here. And then we can remove that and tie this into the actual road network. Got a little freeform tool in there if we can help it. Awesome. And I don't mind this road here running parallel with it, but I don't want it to touch the rail though. Cool. Right, so we can see the process here. We've now got these big important sand storage sites up against our industrial rail infrastructure, so we're starting to hammer home those industrial vibes. And then we actually want to be able to process this as well, and of course we'll come back here at a later date and expand our ore area with an actual ore mine in the mountains. But for right now, we're just going to have the processing facility here to decorate the interchange. And let's go for... Let's see, where do we want to start placing these things in? So these are pretty nice assets too, the ore grinding mills. And I think orientation will go a long way with them. So if we can place them just off of our sand storage, we'll bring a little dirt road out. Bring it up and across, and then we'll have one that comes out this way. We'll hook that onto the side. And then we'll see if we can find a nice point to position another one next to it. Let's make sure we've got the room with our networks to do that. Let's try there instead. There we go. So we'll piece 2 of these back to back. Kind of expands the asset, doesn't it? Makes it look a little bit more important. And then we can have that one hooked back into the road network too. So I don't want anything too much larger than this. I think we'll definitely won't include things like the rotary kiln plant because it's absolutely enormous. Definitely another build for a proper industrial area. But I think we'll probably just get to glass manufacturing as well. So what's going to happen here is the city will now start to import raw ore because we're obviously not mining it ourselves. And then our processing buildings can begin to process it into metal, which will be nice. And then we'll ask this warehouse here to store the metal. Of course, we could drop in another one, but I'm pretty sure you guys have seen at this point that there is a new warehouse coming with a rail connection. I think it's going to work pretty perfectly in this area for that purpose. So we'll wait for that to come with the update when we do Avanya's Industrial Revolution stuff out this side. But for right now, we can at least store some of the processed metal that is going to be made from this area over here. And we're also going to name this after our wonderful patron subscriber Shay. We're going to go for Shay's Mineral Storage. It's always support Shay here. I'll see you blend of herbs and spices, mate. Really do appreciate it. And hopefully, once it's detailed anyway, it should live up to some expectations. But speaking of detailing, this does feel like a good place for that time lapse. I'm going to bring a bit of forest around the back of the interchange. Trees and rocks around this area too, fencing where appropriate. Decorate the roundabout, sort out any slopes or inconsistencies and wrong lane maths that might be knocking about near the interchange, but I think we're okay. And of course, decorate the interchange itself, just so everything isn't looking quite as naked and exposed. And hopefully we'll start to see the beginnings of an industrial area come together, because we're going to have factories out here, a lot of Avanya stuff as well. So it should be quite the large industrial expansion for Orchid Bay. But either way, let's get it detailed. and then we'll be right back. But before we detail, actually, let's just have a little look at this. So, see all that ore being imported now? And this line's not mega busy. I can afford a rail crossing here. I'm pretty happy with that. But they are starting to fill this up with sand. Might even switch this out for some of the other ones once we unlock them. What level do they actually come in? Level 2 we get ore storage, which has like the sort of coal piles rather than sand. But hopefully now, right, we appreciate the aesthetic of industrial assets against a parallel train line. Just for help detailing the networks, you know, it's not just more boring train line. And we've got those layers paying off now as well with the cargo trains passing by in the distance, airport express train as well. Wonderful scenes. Really nice, super satisfying. I do enjoy doing network stuff. But now, let's get detailed, and then we will be right back. little detailing review, shall we? So around our interchange, I tried to keep the detailing fairly natural looking, didn't want too many repeated patterns in here, so lots of overgrowth, the occasional choice tree and some rock formations, and also upgraded the central roads into road with sound barrier rather than doing some fencing, just for a slightly different aesthetic. But I really do enjoy the way the whole trumpet sits within this landscape, and we definitely have the room to open this up into a 4-way interchange should we decide we need it, as we expand out this way. Of course, now 25 tiles is open. We come down this way, and don't forget, next episode this bridge will change because I want to use one of the new industrial highway bridges, which will be really cool. You guys will see it on the channel this week across all the new content. Let me know what sits here as well. I'm not sure, possibly a factory build maybe. It seems like a good stream spot maybe to squeeze something in. So let me know what you think should sit here. And we have also prepared that eventual connection with a little industrial road bridge, which sits really nicely with our rail bridge as well, of course, as the trains go back and forth. Absolutely wonderful. In terms of the detail around the train interchange, the occasional bit of ore fence, and again a ton of overgrowth, rock formations, Orchid Bay forest brush, which I've now added in a little bit of flame tree into that as well, which has turned out quite nicely. Yes, and then rocks, general fencing and whatnot in and around Shay's mineral storage. We got a bit, I've got one of those antenna in here as well, which worked out quite nicely, and a little path just to connect it up. Lots of little bits of trees and path out here, some generic industry zoning around a bit of parking for the people working at Shay's mineral storage, just for the desperate need of industrial props, which we don't get in the vanilla game. Super irritating, but we can get them in with a bit of patient zoning, so that's not too bad. And then I love the aesthetic now of all of these sand storages starting to fill up against this industrial rail line that goes into Orchid Bay, of course. Look at the skyline behind, all that medium density contribution really paying off now, isn't it? Went for a possible bold choice in the fire helicopter depot, just because I wanted more industrial assets, and again the aesthetics of containers and chain link fencing really helps with an area like this, so decided to go with that asset. So could be alright, could be a bit controversial, I guess, I don't know. We'll wait and see. And then also a bit more generic industry down here again, well, just for the sake of silos and trash and planks and containers, just to help tie that general vibe together. And I really like the way Shay's mineral storage sits within the interchange. It's really helped to decorate it up, hasn't it? And also saved a bit of space down here as well for when we eventually unlock the class manufacturing plant. We've got a little spot saved for that, but just because we've not properly developed this industry area this episode, it was not going to hit level 2. That will happen when we come to actually introduce the ore mines in the foothills of Orchid Bay's mountains, where we do have a lot of that ore resource. So we'll definitely have that. And this is a really satisfying interchange to watch. There's just trains coming from all directions, and it's nice and got a really nice smooth flow to it. Very, very satisfying. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it in some eventual cinematics today. And a little note over here as well, there's actually a ton of people walking across the river through Fort Orchid that we built ages ago to get back into across here rather than having to walk the whole way. So it's nice to see a lot of that infrastructure that we put in basically episodes 4 and 5, wasn't it, if not a bit earlier than that. Just see it all flow in now and come together. I really do enjoy this part of the city. And I love the way that the new part opposite the 25 tile radius is starting to develop now. This whole little abandoned amusement park, a bit of service industry needed. And you can see Shay's mineral storage through the tree line, and the elevated train line now is really paying off, isn't it? You know, kind of really hammering home the point of layers in a city's build. It really does help tie things together, in my opinion. Otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. If you have enjoyed yourselves, likes, comments and shares below really do help me out. There's a load of videos out this week covering various bits of the new content, so please do keep an eye out for them. And of course, we'll work our way through all of the new packs in Orchid Bay. We're going to do some Industrial Revolution stuff first, I think, rather than Hotel Travago. We will eventually get around to doing a hotel, and let me know what type of hotels you want in Orchid Bay as well this week. It should be quite a lot of fun. Please do enjoy your cinematics, but otherwise I'll shut up and leave it there. Let's thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.